It is desired to reduce distortion in a CE amplifier circuit. We should A. Reduce emitter current. B. Reduce collector current. C. Reduce AC base voltage. D. Reduce base emitter voltage. The correct answer is reduce base emitter voltage. In the circuit of figure 50 and VB 0.5 V, the quiescent value of base current IB is A. About 28 A, B. About 28 mA, C. About 0.28 A, D. About 2.8 A. The correct answer is about 28 A. For a push-pull circuit, the most favored biasing method is A. Self-bias, B. Emitter bias, C. Diode bias, D. Collector bias. The correct answer is diode bias. In feedback amplifier, the closed loop gain is nearly independent of open loop gain and depends only on the feedback factor. A. True, B. False, C. D. The correct answer is true. In a NPN transistor, when emitter junction is forward biased and collector junction is reverse biased, the transistor will operate in A. Active region, B. Saturation region, C. Cutoff region, D. Inverted region. The correct answer is active region. A feedback network to be used with an amplifier to provide oscillation is tested and found to give an output of 0.124 V with a 0.5 V input. What percentage negative feedback should be introduced to the amplifier so that linear oscillations result? A. 1.25, B. 2.50, C. 1.25, D. 2.5. The correct answer is 1.25. The advantage of Weinbridge oscillator over the phase shift oscillator is that oscillator the frequency may be varied over a range of A. 12, B. 13, C. 15, D. 110. The correct answer is 110. In figure, the input and output Miller capacitances are A. 0.25 F each, B. 500 pF each, C. 0.25 F and 500 pF respectively, D. 500 pF and 0.25 F respectively. The correct answer is 0.25 F each. An inverting amplifier has R110K and RF 150K, then the OP voltage if input voltage VI 1 volt. A. 15 V, B. 10 V, C. 15 V, D. 14 V. The correct answer is 15 V. Figure uses 10 V zener diode. The minimum and maximum current through series resistance are A. 10 mA and 30 mA, B. 20 mA and 40 mA, C. 0 and 30 mA, D. 0 and 40 mA. The correct answer is 10 mA and 30 mA. When Z1Z, the circuit of figure works as A. Inverting amplifier, B. Schmitt trigger, C. Non-inverting amplifier, D. Source follower. The correct answer is source follower. In a class C operation VCC 40 VRL 50, the maximum load power can be A. 64 watts, B. 32 watts, C. 16 watts, D. 8 watts. The correct answer is 16 watts. If VCC 15 V, VCEQ 5 V and ICQ 50 mA, the efficiency in class A operation is A. 100, B. 50, C. 25, D. 16.7. The correct answer is 16.7. A bridge rectifier circuit has a DC load current of 10 mA and a filter capacitance of 1000 floor. The peak-to-peak ripple voltage is A. 0.01 V, B. 0.05 V, C. 0.1 V, D. 0.5 V. The correct answer is 0.1 V. Which of the following best represents the bandwidth of an actual op-amp? A. 100 Hz to 1 MHz. B. 0 Hz to 100 kHz. C. 0 Hz to 10 MHz. D. 0 Hz to infinity. The correct answer is 0 Hz to 100 kHz. For an ideal noise-free transistor amplifier, the noise factor is A. 0, B. 0 dB, C. 1 dB. D depends on other factors. The correct answer is 0 dB. In a crystal, the frequencies of series and parallel resonance are equal. B. The frequency of series resonance is more than frequency of parallel resonance. C. The frequency of parallel resonance is more than frequency of series resonance. D. None of the above. The correct answer is the frequency of parallel resonance is more than frequency of series resonance. Voltage VL in the circuit when V is 0, where D is an ideal diode. Take R1 RS RL1. A 0, B 1, C 1.5. D cannot find. The correct answer is 0. Ultra-high frequency oscillators work in the range A. 20 Hz to 20 kHz. B. 1 kHz to 30 kHz. C. 30 kHz to 30 MHz. D. Above 30 MHz. The correct answer is above 30 MHz. N-channel FETs are superior to P-channel FETs because A. Mobility of electrons is smaller than that of holes. B. Mobility of electrons is greater than that of holes. C. They consume less power. D. They have high switching time. The correct answer is mobility of electrons is greater than that of holes. For the amplifier in figure 800, the midband voltage gain V0 Vi is A0, B1, C1, D800. The correct answer is 1. In the circuit of figure V0, A3 V14 V2, B3 V14 V2, C4 V13 V2, D4 V13 V2. The correct answer is 3 V14 V2. Class C amplifier is suitable for A. narrow frequency band, B. a wide frequency band, C. audio frequencies, D. either B or C. The correct answer is a narrow frequency band. In a NPN transistor, when emitter junction is forward biased and collector junction is reverse biased, the transistor will operate in A. active region, B. saturation region, C. cutoff region, D. inverted region. The correct answer is active region. A Weinbridge is suitable for A. audio frequencies only, B. radio frequencies only, C. both audio and radio frequencies, D. very low frequencies only. The correct answer is audio frequencies only. The signal input to a given amplifier is made up of 100 M signal power and 1 M noise power. The amplifier contributes an additional 100 M of noise and has a power gain of 20 dB. The noise factor is A1, B 1.5, C 2.0, D 15. The correct answer is 2.0. The element in the feedback circuit of a logarithmic amplifier using op-amp is A. a resistor, B. a capacitor, C. an inductor, D. a diode. The correct answer is a diode. In a FET, M varies as A. IDS, B. IDS2, C. 1 IDs, D. IDS. The correct answer is IDS. At midband frequencies, the coupling capacitor in RC coupled CE amplifier may be considered as A. open circuit, B. short circuit, C. A reactance equal to load resistance. D. None of the above. The correct answer is short circuit. An engineer designs an amplifier to have a voltage gain of 60, but when constructed it only had a gain of 50. What percentage of feedback will cause oscillations? A. 0.1, B. 0.5, C. 1, D. 2. The correct answer is 2. If a Class C power amplifier has an input signal with frequency of 200 kHz and the width of collector current pulses of 0.1 ms, then the duty cycle of the amplifier will be A1, B2, C10, D20. The correct answer is 20. An ideal voltage amplifier should have A. Low input impedance and high output impedance. B. High input impedance and low output impedance. C. High input impedance and high output impedance. D. Low input impedance and low output impedance. The correct answer is high input impedance and low output impedance. The H-parameter equivalent circuit of BJT has one voltage source and one current source. A. True. B. False. C. D. The correct answer is true. The voltage EO indicated in the figure has been measured by an ideal voltmeter. Which of the following can be calculated? A. Bias current of inverting input only. B. Bias current of inverting and non-inverting inputs only. C. Input offset current only. D. Both the bias currents and the IP offset current. The correct answer is input offset current only. In an RC coupled amplifier for improving the low frequency response, A. Lower RL is provided. B. More bias is used. C. Less gain is provided. D. Higher CC is used. The correct answer is higher CC is used. The circuit of figure is A. Precision integrator. B. Hartley oscillator. C. Butterworth high-pass filter. D. Weinbridge oscillator. The correct answer is Weinbridge oscillator. The minimum gate source voltage that creates the N-type inversion layer is called A. Cutoff voltage. B. On voltage. C. Threshold voltage. D. Zener voltage. The correct answer is threshold voltage. In figure, gain bandwidth product is A. 200 Hz. B. 200 MHz. C. 200 kHz. D. 2 MHz. The correct answer is 200 kHz. Consider the following statements. A totem pole configuration used in the output stage if an op-amp has the advantage of using A. 1 alone, B. 2 alone, C. 3 alone, D. 1 and 3. The correct answer is 1 alone. The most common method for biasing a FET is A. Reverse bias. B. Self-bias. C. Voltage divider bias. D. None of the above. The correct answer is self-bias. Which of the following figures is an ideal equivalent circuit of a NPN transistor? A. Figure A. B. Figure B. C. Figure C. D. None. The correct answer is Figure B. Which op-amp circuit uses a capacitor in series with input and resistance in feedback path? A. Differentiating amplifier. B. Integrating amplifier. C. Logarithmic amplifier. D. None of the above. The correct answer is differentiating amplifier. For Class B operation, the theoretical maximum efficiency is A. 100. B. 78.5. C. 50. D. 27.5. The correct answer is 78.5. Typical values of current gains for CE, CB and CC amplifiers are A 100 and 20 120 and 1 respectively. B 121 and 120 respectively. C 120 and 120 respectively. D 11 and 120 respectively. The correct answer is 121 and 120 respectively. To draw AC equivalent circuit for a CE amplifier, we should A. Reduce all DC sources to zero. B. Short all capacitors. C. Reduce all DC sources to zero and short all capacitors. D. Reduce all DC sources to zero and open all capacitors. The correct answer is reduce all DC sources to zero and short all capacitors. In the circuit of figure, the value of RE is neglecting VB. A 100. B 75. C 50. D 25. The correct answer is 25.